Well, why don't we go back in time for just a moment? Not that I generally do this, but it just jumps out at me. When we go back in time to think about Abraham and Lot, right? They were a nephew and an uncle. They really didn't get along. They got along so badly that they had to separate ways. And Abraham went to go live in one place and Lot had to go live in another. And if you want to have something even more exciting about difficult people, we love this story, right? We love the story of Yosef and Potiphar's wife, right? We all know that story, that the king's wife, she had a thing for Yosef. She loved him. She wanted him. He was very, very, very handsome. And she was chasing him around the house. She pulled his sleeve off of his coat. She was really chasing him. Now if that's not a difficult person, and he was living with them, he was living in their house, and he had to learn how to get along with her that was quite a difficult situation. So let me preface everything by saying that this is not something new. Dealing with difficult people is something that has always been around, always, always. And the question is, how do you deal with difficult people? How do you communicate with them? So of course, the first answer is like a really simple one. Avoid them, leave them, stay away from them. If somebody is difficult, go someplace else. That's a great answer. So their class is over. I'll just leave a difficult person. However, maybe a little bit of a problem because what? Most of the people that we find very difficult are the people that are closest to us. It's usually people that we live with. It could be our mother, our father, our sister, our brother, but it's usually someone that we're very, very close to. So it's not that easy to leave somebody that you're together with, that you live together with. So let's put that out on the table. Leaving would be option number one. However, it's not really possible. If you have a situation with a difficult somebody that you don't know, well, that's easy. Okay, you don't know them. You have nothing to do with them. They're being difficult. You never have to see them again. And that's it, you're done. Yesterday, when I was up in the mountains, right? So as I was walking with my little grandchildren in an area where there really shouldn't have been cars zooming up, it was a private area, some car came zooming up and really almost killed all of us, right? So the guy saw us, he almost knocked us over. I said, I was very, very upset. I lost it, he got me. And I said, you almost just killed us, right? So he started arguing with me and he said, I can drive as fast as I want to drive. And I said, what do you mean? You almost killed us. Now, what was I doing? I'm arguing with a guy. Is he really ever going to hear my point? He is never going to hear my point. He only cared about that he needed to get to where he wanted to get to. And what I was saying was a waste of time. I was trying to control him, a stranger, a complete stranger. And I needed to stop and say to myself and be aware of the situation and stop and say to myself, who am I arguing with? I don't know this guy. I will never see this guy again. Hopefully he will never come up here again, but I'm trying to convince the guy to start driving 5 miles an hour in a private area. He's not going to listen to me. What does he care? He's never going to see, he's thinking to himself, thank God I'm never going to see this woman again, and he made a U-turn and turned around. So in that kind of a situation, I can leave. I don't know him. It's, I can just forget about the whole thing. But I think from that story, we have to realize a couple of things, okay? We have to realize that what are the things that we are in control of when it comes to a difficult person, and what are the things we are not in control of when it comes to a difficult person. There's only one person that we are in control of when it comes to a difficult person. Only one person. The only person that we are in control of when it comes to a difficult person is ourselves. I can control what I say. I can control what my reaction is going to be. I can control myself. And you have to recognize also, as we recognize what we can control, we also need to recognize what we cannot control. I can control what I say. I can control my reaction. I cannot control what the other person is going to say. I cannot control what the other person is going to do. I guarantee you that if that guy comes up there again next week, Sunday, unless I've got things in the ground that will slash his tires, that guy is going to come back up again at 30 miles an hour, the same way he came up this time. And not only that, he'll probably even come up at 35 miles an hour the next time, because he's in control of whatever he wants to do. And the only thing I can do is be in control of what I want to do. So what would I do with something like that? Well, a person like that, I don't want to have anything to do with him. I'm not going to interact with him again. I'm not going to entangle myself with him. I'm just not going to have anything to do with him. But so what would be my goal? What's my goal in that situation with a stranger? My goal is to avoid a situation like that. And the next time I see him, I'm not going to lose it. I'm going to try to have a conversation with him. I'm going to actually talk to him. And I'm going to say to him, I just want you to know, I got very scared last week when you came running up the hill. Maybe in that conversation, he might say, because he'll feel bad that I got scared. So he might say, you know what? I feel bad. Also, I'm a driver, because this is really what happened. I found out afterwards that he was a driver. He was late for the person he was supposed to pick up. They were yelling at him on the telephone and telling him, I'm never going to use you again. You're losing your job. You're very late. He had a reason for driving so quickly. But in my head, I didn't know that. I didn't know that he was at risk of losing his job. So for me, I lost it and started, getting very upset with him. But on the other hand, I didn't take into account that here was a person who was going to lose his job. And maybe I didn't really need to lose it that much. Maybe I really needed to just say, I just got scared because I had my little children with me and I didn't know you were coming up. It could have been a conversation. So I think that that's an important thing to keep in mind. But let's say it is a person that you have a long-standing relationship with, and they are a difficult person. Let's say it is your brother, your sister, or even somebody that you work with. Let's say it's somebody that you work with and you have a long-standing relationship with them and they're difficult. What are you supposed to do in that kind of a situation? So you have to ask yourself, what is my goal? What's my goal? I don't want to lose my job. I don't want to lose the place that I work at. I really like working where I work. So consciously, I have to say to myself, well, what's my goal over here? What's your goal? Think of anybody that you're with, that you live with, that you have a long-standing relationship with, either that you live with or that you work with. Think of that person and think to yourself, what would be your goal with that person? Do you want to eradicate them from your life? Probably not. Do you want to continue having a relationship with them? Probably yes. So in that kind of a situation, how do you deal with those kind of difficult people? You really have to think about what it is what you want your goal to be. And it's a very important question. So there is something that we do, which is called groundedness. It's an excellent exercise. It's an exercise that takes a couple of minutes to do, and we could actually do it right now. Let's say somebody makes you very, very angry, but they are somebody, they're not a stranger. They are somebody that you live with, okay? And they have said something and done something that's really, really upsetting to you. They have triggered you, and we'll talk about triggers soon. Let's talk about this exercise. So you're very upset. They did something that really, really upset you. So groundedness is this exercise. You take your feet and you put them solid on the ground. And you can do it with me right now. You put your feet on the ground. Do that for a moment. Close your eyes for a minute and you put your feet on the ground. In this moment that you are there with your feet on the ground and this person is making you very, very upset, you say to yourself, say your name. I am Faye Zakheim. And each of you, you each say your own name. I am Rabbi Katzin. I am Julia. You say your name. You say your name. Say it. It's very important. Keep your eyes closed and you think, I am Faye Zakheim. I am Irina. And then you say to yourself, I am a person of infinite worth. I am a person of infinite worth. Hashem created me. I am a valuable person. And you listen to yourself. You go to your own voice instead of listening to the voice of the person that is putting you down. You go into your head and you become grounded in yourself. And you say to yourself, I am a valuable person. Hashem created me. And you envision images of yourself where there are people that love you. And you go to those places. You say, when I'm at my Shabbat table with Dr. Faye, people really love me at that table. I am a valuable person. People really like listening to me at that table. I am a valuable person. And that person who is standing in front of me right now, that person who is trying to put me down, I'm going to lower the volume on them. I'm going to turn them down. I'm going to shrink them. I'm going to make myself bigger, and I'm going to take them and I'm going to make them smaller. And by doing that, by saying to myself, I am a person of value. I am a person that people like. I am a person that people love to be with. They laugh with me. They sing with me. People love me. This other person, they're little. They're very little. I see a very little person in front of me. I see there used to be a movie called Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I don't know how many of you saw it. And in that movie, remember, he takes the kids and they become these little people. They become very little people. That's what that other person is going to become to you. That other person standing in front of you, they're going to become a little person because they're not worth it for them to be able to put you down. What makes them better than you for them to be able to decide who you are? You know who you are. I am Faye Zakheim. I'm a valuable person. I am a person that Hashem created. I'm a person that makes people happy. And the fact that this other person is putting me down, well, guess what? They just became a shrunken person. And it's a beautiful exercise to do because it really works. It's called groundedness. It's been proven to be true. Research shows that it works because you're suddenly seeing yourself the way that you should be seeing yourself, not seeing yourself the way this other shrunken person is seeing you. So I think it's an important exercise. I also like to think very often of myself being in a plexiglass bubble, okay? I'm in this plexiglass bubble. You can see me, but guess what? You can't touch me. You can see me, but you can't touch me. You can't hurt me because I'm in this plexiglass bubble. The fact that this other person, there are people that are difficult people. It's not your imagination. They are difficult people. There are people that are demeaning people. There are people that are not compassionate people. There are people who are, they're just not nice. They don't mean any good for you. They don't want to help you. They want to hurt you. You know, the perfect example is last week when I had to attend a meeting. It was a Zoom meeting with colleagues of mine. And in this meeting, they were literally ignoring me for reasons of me not being of the same opinion of them. And I had to really take myself and keep grounding myself and saying to myself, I am a good person. I am a worthy person. And you know, in the times that we are living in now, with all of the craziness going on, it's very important to do this all the time. It's just very important. There's so much, besides the stuff that we're going through in our own homes, the fact that we're living with people and they're around 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we're not really getting a break from people. Besides that, the global world that we're living in is a very difficult world. The ideas that the global world has out there they're not ideas that we believe in. It's a different way of life than what we believe in. So grounding yourself is at this point in time extremely important. I also think that, so we talked about what's your goal with a stranger, you want to avoid them. In a long-standing relationship with somebody that you're still working together with, what's your goal? Your goal is that what is it, where do you want to go with that relationship? Where do you want to be with them? You want to be in a place where you are not being put down, where you're not being demeaned. Very important to remember that you cannot fix difficult people. You can't change people. You can try, but all you end up doing is badgering them and bothering them. And it's very unlikely that people will hear you or listen to you because they think that they're right and you think that you're right. And it doesn't, unfortunately, I wish that I could say that there are ways to change people, but there really aren't. So I think the important thing is to recognize that you have control of your own reactions. So then the question is, why am I getting so upset by this person? Why am I allowing this person to trigger me? Why am I letting them get to me? Why am I letting them get me so upset? And that brings us back to all the conversations that we've had over the past many, many weeks. This has been going on for very long. We've really gotten to know each other over here. It brings us back to what we've talked about for the past many, many weeks. And that is that we all have an inner child in us. Yeah, I look like an adult. I look like an adult, but really somebody can trigger me and I become a little child again. They trigger me in a way that makes me feel like a child. What they're saying to me is reminding me of something in my past. And in that way, when they do that, when they remind me of something that happened to me in my past, my inner child comes back alive. And I end up reacting to the person, not in the present of who I am, an adult person, but I end up reacting to the person with my inner child. So
Dr. Faye, I love that. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I really love what you just said. It just makes some profound sense, what you just said, just so it clicks very, very much so. Because it's true. It's like, it makes a lot of sense, you know? Yeah. You say the thing that connects to a person's childhood trauma, they turn into a kid. So it's they're just so on the mark. So anyway, I just wanted to say how much that resonates.
Yeah, it's so nice to see you, to have you here.
Likewise, thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. So I think that part is, it's so important to understand, what is this person doing to you? How is this person triggering you? Because we always talk about this. What do we say, Rabbi? Always. Awareness is 90% of the solution. So if suddenly somebody says something to you and you're getting extremely upset about it, extremely, your automatic reaction is that you just flip out and you start screaming back at them. If you do that, I am guaranteeing you that is because it is your inner child speaking. When you have an automatic reaction to somebody, that is your inner child speaking. If your reaction is a little bit delayed and you've thought about it and then you get upset with them and that's bothering you, then it's not a trigger. But a trigger would be something that you went through as a child. For instance, if your father had a very, very bad temper, or he gave you a certain kind of a look, and that look was like, that meant trouble. And then you meet somebody and they say something to you and it's hurtful and they give you a look, like this look of, oh, come on, you should be smarter than that. And your automatic reaction is to get extremely angry at them. Chances are this was a trigger from your childhood. Why is that so important? Because we go back to saying awareness is 90% of the solution. Why? Because if you could say to yourself, that really reminds me of my father, or that really reminds me of the way my brothers treated me as a kid. Well, that will automatically give you the opportunity to go back to your grounding exercise and say to yourself, I am worthy. I am Faye Zakheim, or I am Janaea Kerben. I am worthy. I am a person that's valuable. Hashem created me. I'm a person that makes people happy. I'm a person that makes people dance. I'm a person that makes people sing. We are very valuable. And sometimes the people that we live with, or sometimes the people that we work with, or sometimes the people that we're involved with in a very close way, they sometimes take us for granted. And they don't see us the way that we want to be seen. So again, let's go back to the question, how to deal with difficult people. One is recognizing the fact that you will not fix the other person. You do not have control of the other person. You only have control of one person. Who is that one person that you have control of? Yourself. You have control of yourself. You have control of what you say. You have control of what you do, but you will not have control of the other person. Some people think that what you can do with a difficult person, because they are a person, what you might want to do is have respect for them and try to say to yourself, what are they going through? What are they going through that's making them behave in this way? There must be something that they're going through that's making them very, very angry and very difficult. Maybe they're jealous. Maybe they're in a maybe they're going through a hard time at work and you're not going through a hard time at work. Maybe their finances are not good. Maybe they just broke up with their girlfriend. You don't know what they're going through. So if it's possible to actually respect that person and try to understand where they're coming from and why they're like the way that they are, wow, then I can honestly say to you, then you're an amazing person. That would be my goal for me, which is it's a work in progress. It's very, very difficult to do, but that would be my goal. If only I could just see it from the other person's point of view and look at what's going on for them. Like when people have road rage, right? And they start honking me and yelling at me and doing all these distorted hand images toward me, right? If only I could think to myself, what just happened to them? Did their wife just find out they had a miscarriage? Did their mother just die? Did they just find out somebody in their family has cancer? And if I could do that, then I am taking their difficulty and I'm making it less. I'm turning it into a difficulty that won't be difficult for me, because now I'm seeing them as nebuch, like they're nebuch. I feel bad for them that they're going through a difficult time. And if I look at it that way, then suddenly, guess what? They're not a difficult person. They're sad. They're a pathetic person. I feel sorry for them. Isn't it interesting? When we think about it, like sometimes we'll say about somebody, get this, I love this. We'll say about somebody, they are so stubborn. They just won't give in. They're not hearing what I'm saying. They are so stubborn. Now, take it away and make believe it's not them. Make believe it's your best friend. Your best friend is so stubborn. So what do you think? Do you say it in a bad way? Do you say, oh my God, she's so stubborn, or he's so stubborn? No, you say, oh, wow, this is such a strong person. I love how strong-minded this person is. I want to be friends with this person because they're so strong-minded. So really, very often, you can relabel it. And instead of the person being a difficult person because they're stubborn, suddenly they're a strong-minded person. Or instead of a difficult person being, Rabbi, could you join me on that? I'm watching you. You like it, good. But the opportunity is there that you can actually relabel them in a different way than the negative way. You can take it and turn it around and turn it into a positive labeling. Instead of them being stubborn, they are headstrong, they're passionate, wow, what an amazing person they are. So I think we've said a lot. We could go over it a little bit. And let's see, let's try.
Dr. Page, I just want to say, it was an
Yes.
amazing discovery for me. When you said that you cannot control the person, but you can control yourself, I thought the only thing you can do, you can suppress your anger or your fear or your frustration. But you said something amazing. And the very thing that makes you angry, you have the skill, or you have the freedom to reframe it and look at the very thing, think and say, wow, how courageous this person is, not stubborn, how persistent this person is, right? Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And that's unbelievable. That's really unbelievable.
Do you love it? I love it also.
Unbelievable. No, that's, if to remember this, the very thing, same thing that you right now are angry,
Right.
you can say to yourself, wait a second, but that very thing is also, maybe strength, and you may admire the person. It means you're not lying to yourself. It doesn't exist. You're not pretending. It's not fake news. You're honest.
Yeah.
It just in your mind, your judgment colors it in a different picture. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Mind-boggling.
It is, right? And now, Rabbi, as you said that, that also brought to mind that sometimes people will dress ridiculously, like they just dress ridiculously. And you want to say to them, oh, you have the worst taste in clothing. You just look horrible. That looks awful. But really, you can turn it around again and say, what a colorful person. How amazing, they are, how creative they are. So it is. It's a very interesting concept.
Hey, Dr. Faye.
Can I say something?
Okay, you go and then we'll have somebody else. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll go first. Okay. By the way, sorry if I'm a little muffled. I have a mask on. I'm taking a walk. So it's just I don't know if it's a question, but more or less an observation. So you stated that people have an ability to trigger the inner child of individuals on the basis of saying something that speaks directly to their past traumas, particularly their childhood traumas.
Yep.
So I noticed it's being recorded. Okay. Rabbi, I hate to do this. Was there any chance you could unrecord it for a second?
I'm recording for a minute, but we're being very careful not to be saying names.
Oh, yeah. No names. I just.
We didn't say your name at all.
Oh, okay. Okay, no problem. That's fine. You don't have to record.
Yeah, there's no names. If you noticed, I said, and then we'll take the next person, and I never said your name.
Oh, okay, fantastic. So my question is, as an individual person, an individual entity, I understand this, right? When people, we run into people in life, and whether they are intently malicious or, by accident, say things that, basically demean an individual, right? That happens. So me as an individual, I could, if they say it to my face, or, it's a one-on-one kind of instance, it's very easy to brush off. And I think we could apply that to a lot of people if you're in control and you understand what the situation is and you have a mastery of your emotions. However, if somebody says something to you that more or less triggers you, so to speak, in a public setting when there's more people around, so it's not so much about myself, but it's about the public image. It's about the reputation. So it's like I'm not really responding for the sake of my individuality with regard to this trigger of my past childhood trauma, but it's more for the sake of the reputation, my public image. So it's like, can you understand that type of
Yes.
conflict?
Yeah,
Okay.
I love that question because there are two things that you brought up that I want to talk about with your question. So I thank you so much for that question. So one part of the question, which I think is really very important, what you're talking about is so important. It's about self-respect. That's what you're talking about. That you're saying, it's okay if somebody wants to embarrass me and demean me. If we're one-on-one, that's one thing. But what about my self-respect when somebody is putting me down in public? And that, I think that that's the question that you're asking. What about my self-respect? Is that right? Can I address that?
Yes, yes, self-respect. Yes, I feel like, yes, that is the ultimate emotion that it could be linked to, I suppose, is self-respect. I'm trying to think if there are any other aspects of the human condition that it relates to, but
I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna go there because I think it's a great question. Okay. So I would say that our best gift to dealing with difficult people, our best gift that we have is something called mindfulness. And that means being conscious of what is going on. So in order to get, now I know you're all very smart because I know this group, we've been together for so long. In order to get to that point of mindfulness, which means stepping out of your emotions and stepping into a place that is safe, that you're mindful, you're rational, you're conscious of what's going on. You need 2 C's to get there. You need something called compassion and you need something called curiosity. With compassion and curiosity, you can manage to avoid worrying about your self-respect. Why? Because with compassion, you can say to yourself, well, how am I feeling right now? How am I feeling? I'm feeling like this person is not respecting me. I'm feeling like other people are looking at me and this person is demeaning me in public. Why is the second C so important? Because of the curiosity. The curiosity is both on the other person and also on yourself. The curiosity is, why is this person doing this to me? Why is this person disrespecting me? And when you get there, when you have a place where you're curious about why the person is disrespecting you, instead of blaming yourself and saying, oh, I deserve to be put down, which is what we always think. Oh, I deserve to be put down. So I'm blaming myself or I'm blaming the other person. Instead of going there, I'm going to a place of compassion and curiosity. And I'm going to a place that I'm going to ask myself, why is this person disrespecting me? For me, what I find, everybody has a different trigger for being disrespected. For me, disrespect is when somebody ignores my texts or my, that I'm trying to get a hold of them for something or other, and they're not responding. And let's say it's something very important. I'm trying to do a referral and I need a therapist for somebody. And I know that they're just not responding. So for me, that is a trigger, right? But then what do? I have compassion. I say to myself, okay, the person's not responding probably because they're busy with something else. That might be very, very important. Or maybe the person has something very major going on. And if I could go to that place where I become, instead of an emotional baggage, where I'm an emotional bag of like, wow, I can't believe they're not responding. I can't believe they're ghosting me. I can't believe they're not answering. When I could step out of that and be mindful of what the other person is going through and be curious even, and then just instead of attacking them when I speak to them, to give them an opportunity and say, is everything okay? What's going on? I was worried about you. And the person has the opportunity to say, yeah, well, this actually happened to me today. I'm really like in terrible shape financially. I just lost my job. I know I don't have a job I have to start looking for a job all over again. And I became very compassionate to them. So I would say that it's very often really important to look at what the other person is going through. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. Well, a quick question. So the curiosity is on the other individual and on yourself, right?
Yeah.
Why does that individual have, why did he or she resort to saying or doing what they did, right? And also curiosity from the point of view of understanding why that affected you. Where did that come from? But also the compassion, is the compassion portion also a two-way thing, or is that more?
It is. You're a really good student. Yeah, it is. The compassion is also a two-way thing. Your compassion is for them. And also, remember what we said, awareness is 90% of the way there. So your compassion is also on yourself for noticing how you're feeling. because noticing how you're feeling gives you an opportunity for the mindfulness of stepping out of where you are, that it's very subconscious, and it's probably the 7-year-old or the 6-year-old responding, and not the 17 or the 27 or 37-year-old responding.
Oh, great. Thank you so much, Dr. Faye.
You're very welcome. Anybody else have questions?
I do, but
Yeah.
Yes, please.
somebody else wants to go. So basically, we're taking on like theory of mind, perspective taking, but like, are we showing sympathy or empathy for the person? And like, what's the difference between that? I always feel like I get those confused.
It's a great question,
Yes.
and there's a good solid answer. So sympathy is when I am me, and I want to just show you something. You know, let's say I have something here. I am me, and this is another entity, right? I stunk his soda bottle. I am, and something happens to this other person, and the sympathy is, oh, I feel so sorry for you. I feel sorry for you. You. Empathy is, I have stepped into your shoes. I'm empathic for you. I am in your shoes. I'm feeling your pain.
So you're doing both.
Empathy is a really nice thing. Empathy is, there's no greater gift than having a friend that's empathic to you, than having a friend that is validating you.
Wait, can I ask a question?
So we're doing both.
Wait 1 second, let her finish, and then I'll go to, yeah.
So we're basically doing both. And then I did have another question, but I could let her go.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to ask you with empathy, isn't it also when you empathize with someone, you have actually gone through what they went through in order to actually, because otherwise wouldn't it be?
Not necessarily.
Great question. When you're empathic to somebody, like, can I be empathic to somebody who had a miscarriage if I've never had a miscarriage? Can I be empathic to somebody who has eating disorders if I don't have eating disorders? Can I be empathic to somebody who lost their father when they were 6 years old if I didn't lose my father when I was 6 years old? Yes, I can be empathic anyway. I can. I can feel their emotions. How? By listening to them, by validating their feelings. This is the opposite. I love it because it's making me feel a little bit better. It's the opposite of being a difficult person. Being an empathic person is so the opposite of being a difficult or stubborn person. Being empathic is becoming one with that person. And you don't have to have gone through what they are going through. You can be empathic just for the mere fact that you're feeling their emotion. I never went through the Holocaust. I didn't live in Russia. I've never gone through what Rabbi Katzin has gone through, but I can be empathic to it from the stories he tells. My empathy is so, the way he tells a story, I am empathic to it. When Irina lost her grandmother a few years ago, I remember sitting there and crying because I could feel her pain of having lost her grandmother. So yeah, you don't need to have experienced it in order to be empathic to it.
Thank you.
Great question. More?
Did anybody else want to go? I don't want to.
I wanted to say something that kind of shook me a little bit, just because I've had experience with when I've gone through like tough times in life. I don't know where it would come from, if it's me feeling pity for myself, which very well could be, but I always feel that it's not necessarily the compassion that you're saying that people should feel, but it's like the phrase you used was like oy nebach, or like I feel like the oy nebach is like, it kind of brings that person up and brings the other person down when they're struggling. It's like, because you're looking at, because the person that you're oy nebaching, you're technically looking down on them. And I feel like that doesn't really, to me, I don't feel like that enables us to really feel the compassion aspect
No.
for the person.
No, I agree with you.
So that was just like my thing. Like I you know, that took me by
Yeah.
the tail, you know,
So yeah, excellent question. And it really, it just shows the fact of how you're really listening to this. If you remember at the very beginning, we said there are different ways to deal with difficult people. So those two ways are very, very different. Remember at first I said, well, when you're dealing with difficult person, your first choice is leave them, go away right away, right?
right.
And we talked about people that you can't leave. They're part of your family. You live with them. You live with your mother, you live with your father, your grandmother, your sister, they're living in the house with you. So then you can't leave them. And then in terms of what you're saying, also two different methods. One is compassion, where you're actually talking to the person and you're trying to feel where they're at and what's going on for you and why did you lose it? Like had I talked to this driver yesterday and I said, you know, what's going on? Why are you driving so quickly? But the other part is the shrinking part. Two different things.
Yeah.
And then you find the one because you're saying clearly that you're not comfortable with shrinking somebody. That doesn't make
Not at all. I've been shrunken and it feels like crap.
Well, but in some cases where you don't shrink them verbally, God forbid.
No, but it's like if you're looking at somebody, if you're looking at somebody, you're looking down on them.
Excellent. I love what you're saying. I love that because it shows so much heart on your part. But the reason you're doing it, remember the reason you're doing it, they have demeaned you. So that was an exercise in groundedness. That's an exercise where you're grounding yourself. You're putting your feet on the ground. You're saying, I am worthy. I am good. I am valuable. And sometimes in order to do that, if you have a person that's standing above you and saying to you, you're a mean person, you're so selfish, you're saying terrible things to you, you have to, if it works for you. But if it doesn't, again, nothing I ever say is an absolute when it comes to it. It's really what works for you. So if that doesn't work for you, if that doesn't work for you, don't internalize that one. Go to the other one. If the other one feels better for you, go to the other one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I will tell you, you know, I hope you don't mind me saying it, you know, about myself, that sometimes I do have to go to that one where I have to think of myself, where I have to say to myself, you know, they're not, why are they able to put me down? Who are they? Because sometimes that's what I need to do. But I also really like the compassion one more. And I also love the relabeling one. I love that because it's an opportunity to really relabel a person and make them, you know, instead of making them horrible, suddenly I think of them as being my best friend. And would I think they were horrible if they did that if they were my best friend? No, I would think they were protective. I would think that they were steadfast in their opinion. So that's also very important.
Thank you.
But I like that you're taking it to different places. I love that you're thinking. I love that the whole point when we started this whole program way back when, Irina, how many weeks has it been? How many months already, right?
Like 8-9 weeks.
Yeah.
Wow.
So our whole mission, our whole goal when we started it was really only one thing, to take us to a place where we are becoming emotionally connected to each other. And rather than feeling like we're isolated and alone, because remember, we started it by COVID when everybody was locked up in their houses. And when we started it, it was really just about feeling connection to each other, feeling emotion toward each other. And then it just continued on. And, you know, it's nice because it gives everybody more of a psychological, emotional way of dealing with each other. And it goes back so far. I don't know if you were here at the beginning when we did repetition compulsion, about repeating cycles. There was just so much. So it's just, you know, it's just nice to see everybody growing emotionally. I love it. I love it. I really believe that the way that you're responding now to people 3 months later is very different than the way that you responded to people 3 months ago. I think there's mindfulness. I think there's consciousness. I think the other person has existence. It's not just about me. It's about what's going on for that person. And isn't it amazing that here we are sitting about how to deal with difficult people, and yet we're saying well, you know what? Maybe I should look at it from their point of view. What is going on for them that's making them so difficult? And I really believe that everybody's going to walk away from here, and start doing this exercise of why is that person being difficult? And the next time somebody yells at you or road rages at you or just loses it at you, there's a very good possibility that you may say, well, what's going on for them?
Hi, Dr. Faye. I just want to say I'm playing this in my mind. I'm trying to think. When we call somebody a nebuch, is it another word for saying somebody's a loser?
No. No, it's the word is not loser. No. Rabbi, how do you define nebuch?
We feel sorry for the person. It's probably sympathy. We identify with or maybe empathy actually. Yeah, probably empathy.
I have an answer. You are recognizing, I love this, it's such a nice way of putting it. You are recognizing that the person has limitations, that this person is limited, and that they don't have the capacity to feel your emotion. And that's why they're demeaning you. Because you're working on yourself, you have the capacity to feel someone else's emotion. This person they're limited. They can't feel your emotion. They can't feel someone's emotion. And therefore, they can put you down because they don't understand that when they put you down, they're going to hurt you.
Rina, ask a question, by the way. Continue, Ari. But Rina has a question of one of our friends here that may be very important, actually, question. Ari, first of all, you continue, and then Rina will ask one question. Please.
Yeah, I just want to say that, I hear, sometimes when you're having a conversation with somebody, either, you're speaking to the person or you see how they're talking to others. And I know for me personally, one of the things that I use, instead of like getting upset at them or, judging them and saying, this person's, a bad person, I start feeling compassion. I start feeling bad for the person because I think, listen, I think if this person noticed how they're treating others or how they're talking to others, they wouldn't. First, I think to myself, I wouldn't want to be like that. And I wish that they would realize it for themselves, because I don't think they want people to look down on them. That's not their true self. They're just in their own world. So instead of me like being upset, I just think like, I wish for the best for them, that they like figure it out and they realize that this is not a way to talk to people. This is not a way to treat people. So instead of like getting upset, kind of like, listening what you're saying and just giving a little what I try to do, instead of being upset at them, just saying like, hey, I wish they just, I feel that they, like that they realize, and this is not their true self, because I think a person's like true self, they don't want people to hate them or people to like laugh at them and people just not take them seriously.
Yeah, I love what you're saying. And it just proves what a kind-hearted person you are, but not, and also how much you've worked on yourself. It's clear that you have worked on yourself a lot, but not everybody does. Not everybody does work on themselves. So keep that in mind. But what you're saying is just so beautiful because you're looking at people from such a positive point of view. I love it. I love it.
Thank you, Dr. Faye. Of course, I'm trying to, sorry, Rabbi Katzini. Yes, I mean, I'm learning. That's why, I come to the classes and learn a lot from you. And thank you.
I think it's another example of reframing, correct? Where Ari is choosing not to get upset and angry, but instead choosing to see this person as someone to sympathize with. And you just now exercised your amazing ability to inspire a person and build person up. I think that's an educator within you. Simcharina, please.
I think it wasn't my question, but I think Eddie asked, I'm not sure exactly what he's asking, but he said, how do you deal with people if you always sound like you're running away? So I'm not sure exactly what he meant by running away.
I think that he's talking about guilt. Eddie will tell us or not, because On one hand, you say you should leave, but he feels guilty leaving these people. Am I right, Eddie? Anyway, so that's what, no? So once again, what was his situation? Is it okay to leave? Like, why not? Because he feels it's not okay. So why does he feel it's not okay?
But let's remember again that when we talk about leaving, we talked about leaving if it's a stranger that's being difficult. Because generally, it's very hard for us to leave situations. You're living with people that, you know, who are the people that we are most affected by when they're difficult? It's really the people that we live with. So we have no option. We're not leaving them. You know, like my mother can be difficult, or my brother can be difficult, or my sister can be difficult. Well, where am I going? I'm not leaving them. I love them, but they're difficult. So this is about being difficult and being able to see it from their point of view. A, that's very important. Being able to see it from their point of view. B, being able to recognize the fact that if I'm really being triggered and it's a very automatic response, very quickly, it's an automatic response, then it's probably reminding me of something that happened to me as a child. C, nobody deserves to be not respected. And if you're not respected, that's the time to do your grounded exercise and to put your feet on the ground and say, I am worthy, I am valuable. There are people that do love me, and to create the visual imagery of all the people that love you. It's very important to do that for ourselves.
Dr. Faye, what do you think we should do next time? Yeah, please. Please
Hi.
continue.
Hi.
Hi. All right. I
So
just
good to
wanted
see
to
you.
ask a question. Lovely to see you too. Thank you for a great lecture as always.
Thank you.
So in the last 3 months, obviously our worlds were turned upside down, and I feel like I have moments where I become someone that I'm normally not. So how do we deal with if we're the stubborn ones, you know? And like we're the ones that are losing our cool, but also we can't just explain to people what we're going through, because I'm someone who doesn't like to talk about like my personal stuff. So I can't just explain to them why I'm acting the way that I'm acting, and I'm not doing it maliciously, you know? So how do we deal with that while still wanting that peace within ourselves, but also wanting the peace with the people that we love the most?
I love it. So your question is, how can we express our emotions when we can't express our emotions?
Right, basically, yes.
Am I right? How can we express our emotions when we can't express our emotions?
More or less, yes.
Is that, I just want to make sure. I'll tell you why. Because our time is very, very, very much up. And every week I say to myself, oh, I assume this is going to be the last week that we're doing it because we've done so much work. And then before we close, I always hear Rabbi Katzin saying, oh, what are we doing next week?
Yeah, this can't end, Dr. Faye. We're not ready for it to end yet. This is too great.
So I would like to suggest that be the topic for next week. How?
Okay.
Yeah, now I have to go home and do all the homework. How can we express our emotions when we can't express our emotions? Rabbi, you like that? How can we express our emotions when we can't express? In other words, you're having all the feelings, but you just can't express them.
Right.
It's very hard. It's a really good question. I think that's
Like you can't use the right language. Is that what it is?
you don't even know what to say. Like you know, you're feeling angry, you're feeling afraid, you're feeling terrified.
Yeah, it's hard to express your feelings at times. It's hard to put it into words.
Yeah.
And
Or it comes off the wrong way.
exactly. And then you just close off, and that's even worse because closing off is like the worst thing you can do. But that's sometimes like that's the go-to defense mechanism that I have, and I'm sure a lot of other people have, you know, and I know that's not healthy in the long run. So I would like some ways to be able to express our feelings.
So I think that's what we're going to do next week. We're going to talk about range of emotions and how to say them. And thank you. You're actually giving me my format. And we'll actually do exercises in expressing that emotion. How would you express rage? How would you express fear? How would you express anger? And that will be the exercise. I really do love exercise. I love questions as well, but I love exercises. So you just did my format for me for next week.
Okay, I'm
And now
glad.
all I have to do is my 16 hours of research.